Hey everyone, today is Weird Gunsmithing Tools, episode 3. Let's get into it. As the video title suggests, we have today the Wheeler Engineering digital trigger pull gauge. I think it's got the word pro somewhere in there. I am starting to fall in love with this thing. I never had a trigger pull gauge because I believe that simple numbers don't really tell the whole story about the quality of a trigger pull. And I've used some of the cheaper analog trigger pull gauges that my friends had in the past, and I just wasn't happy with them. But recently I had a customer explicitly say he wanted proof that his trigger weights on certain guns he had me working on were in a certain range, and I had to provide that proof. So I decided to splurge a little bit, and I spent, I think, around $65 or $70 on this. And I'm pretty happy with it. And I think it's worth going with something like this if you're doing a lot of trigger work over one of the analog gauges that just uses a spring and just moves a little dial, if you know what I'm talking about. It's pretty self-explanatory. So this has a swing out arm, and it comes with this curved shoe, and there's also a little flat trigger shoe in the case with instructions and all of this testing and whatnot. So let's get into this a little bit. So your center button is your power, and that turns us on. And then we have units to go from metric to imperial, or for those of you who don't really understand that, it is you have your flag on the moon and you don't have your flag on the moon. And then you also have mode, which shows you your peak pull weight and then your live pull weight. And then you also at the bottom cycle through minimum and maximum and average and all that, as well as your number of trigger pulls you have. And so let me set the camera up and show you what that looks like. We'll be testing this old shotgun I'm working on. So I'll cock the shotgun. We've got trigger pull gauge on here, and I have it set to peak. So it will give me basically the break weight of the tool here. And save that. And it's right at 2 pounds, 1.8 ounces. And now I can either quickly press the power button to discard that. Oh, that's not true. I can press the delete button to discard that, or I can go to the enter button and save that in my data log. So let me show you that again. Now we'll come down here and we'll enter that, and now you see one as in one entry, and then it's showing you your max and your mins, which are the same right now. And we'll do another trigger pull, and we'll enter that, and then another trigger pull, and we'll enter that. So now it's showing us our max and our min for 3 pulls, and then we're gonna go, and it shows us our average. And then also the live feature is pretty cool as well. It basically shows you exactly what is going on at any one time there. And this thing overloads at around, I think 12 pounds, I believe. And every single time you turn it off, it wipes the data. So you should write it down if you want to record it. This doesn't have like a memory at all. So I really like all the measurement features of it, especially the fact that, say I take a bad measurement or whatever, like I'm pulling off to the left here, and it makes a really just like ridiculous measurement, I can just delete that and choose not to add it to my my data set. And it does a good amount of the legwork for you. It would be nice for something at this price point if they sold some kind of computer software with it, and you plug this into a computer and they had a free app you could download, and it would log everything and make tables for you, or maybe show you a graph. There's a lot of potential with a tool like this, but I'm honestly really happy. I do a decent amount of trigger jobs, and I'm pretty happy with this. Some things I don't like. I'm not a huge fan of the case, for one. They just feel cheap and not great. They're not sealed. They're not waterproof. I wouldn't feel comfortable sticking this in my range bag and leaving it there at all. But it is what it is. I also don't like this uses AAA batteries, which as a 21-year-old, that's kind of outdated. Especially they don't include batteries with it. That's just like, why? Just have this thing be rechargeable, or at the very least deliver batteries with it. But I would give this probably a 4 out of 5 stars, and I would recommend it for anyone who's relatively serious in gunsmithing, or air gunsmithing for that matter. And I do think it's fairly accurate as well. So that has been the Wheeler Professional Digital Trigger Gauge, as the back just told me. So I hope that somebody found this interesting, and I hope that my subscribers are enjoying this series. And let me know if there's any tools that you've seen kicking around on my workbench that you'd like to see reviewed. Have a good one.